In this video, I'm going to share some of my thoughts on knitting with Sikkins. This is my current project. As you see, this is glamorous and shiny because I'm using these Sikkin yarns. Right here, here and here and here and here. Wherever I have those transitions in between colors, I used Sikkins in two strands. This one is cotton with Sikkins and this one is polyester with Sikkins. And let's get started and I will explain how to make knitting from Sikkins fun, not torture. Now the first thing I need to do here is to add the new yarn, and I'm just using a simple knot. For this project and for most of my other project, just a reminder, I knit with simple granny stitches and I knit through the back loop. If you need more information on this knitting style, you can go to the info box and you will find that style right there. So now the Sikkin, what do I do with it? Let's see. If I just keep on knitting, what happens? See, the Sikkin is stuck somewhere in between stitches. So what do I do here, and what do I do whenever I knit with those Sikkins? I would just pull the Sikkin a little bit on the right side because I don't want any of the Sikkins on the inside on the purl side, because I don't want those Sikkins to touch my skin. Now I don't have any Sikkins right here, and okay, I'm about to knit another one. Now what happens if the Sikkin wants to stay on the purl side? See, it's kind of got in the inside because I didn't have enough yarn to complete this stitch. So what would I do here? I would just force this Sikkin to go inside my stitch. So I help it and I pull it a little bit so that it stays on the right side, and then I continue. I mean, knitting with Sikkins is fun because, you know, all that glamour, all that bliss, all that glitter, but you have to take that extra step, and as you go, make sure, see, I'm just pushing this skin on the right side because I don't need them in the inside. I don't want them to touch my skin. As for the smaller ones, see, I have two types of yarn, one with bigger Sikkins and one with smaller Sikkins. With smaller, it's almost impossible, so I'm not gonna do that. I just, if I see that small one, I would just ignore it. And then, well, if it stays on the right side, it's okay. If it doesn't, it's okay too. So I only care about those bigger ones. And now I'm about to reach another one, and see, if I keep on going, it's just gonna stay on the wrong side. I don't want that, so I'm gonna undo this stitch and make sure that this Sikkin stays on the right side. So in this case, I'm gonna hold it with my thumb and just keep on going with the next stitch. It didn't help, so I'm gonna push the Sikkin to the right side and pull it a little bit so that it stays where I need it to stay, and I keep on going. So basically the first rule here is to stop, take a step back whenever you need, and make sure that the Sikkin goes to the right side of your future sweater. So this is the rule number one. Now the second thing I really need to tell you, I saw advice somewhere online that if you have this yarn with Sikkins, then you have to use the needles as thick as those Sikkins. Well, theoretically, if you do that, like this requires huge needles, right? So the yarn is thin and the sequins are huge. So we need to have our knitting needles as thick as the sequin. I strongly disagree with that advice because, well, I mean, what do they mean by that? So if you have that huge loop, that huge stitch, and the sequin stays somewhere right here, well, it might make sense, but your knitting will look like more a fishnet because you will have all that air right here. Okay, yeah, the sequins will always be on the right side. I mean, they will always be somewhere in between of the stitch. Okay, and you don't have to pull anything, you don't have to use your thumb. Well, I disagree. See, I'm using 2.5 millimeters needles right here. They're very, very old and wonky, and it still worked. So I adjusted my needle size, not to the sequin size, but to the thread size right here. It's thin. Well, I went in two strands, one cotton, one polyester. So it's still thin enough to go for 2.5 millimeter needles. Now, there is a reason why you would use huge needles for sequins is when you have not only sequin yarn, okay, but you have something really fluffy like a mohair. So here's an example. The yarn itself, if we don't look at the fluff, it's quite tiny, it's quite fine. But if you pair that fluff with the sequins will dive into that fluff. And only in that case, this situation makes sense. So, for a fluffy yarn with these sequins, I would go for maybe 5 millimeter knitting needles, okay? But if there wasn't that fluff, see, let's say there's no that fluff. No, it's a nice tiny thread. And I will use my 2.5 millimeter knitting needles. Well, I said 5 millimeters just as an example. Of course, you need to see how much fluff there is, how much hair that thread has, okay? And you need to make your swatch, etc., etc. But remember, if you don't have that mohair situation, and if you try to knit those sequins on a small yarn, on a fine yarn with 5, 6, 7 millimeter needles because someone told you that you need to have your needles as thick as as the diameter of your sequins. Well, my opinion, it's not gonna work. Now, what happens if one of your sequins did got stuck on the wrong side? Well, I would use my crochet hook and I will find the place where the sequin is. I just try to pull it on the right side. This is how I do it. Pull with the help of my crochet hook. And this is what you've got. You've got the sequin sitting right where you want. Well, I hope that it makes sense. Please tell me if you have any other questions, and I see you in the next video.